OPEC and the IEA seem completely misaligned on what's happening with markets heading into 2030. Why is that still the case?
Well, I think the main difference is they have different outlooks on GDP growth, where OPEC has a higher global growth rate than the IEA, and also on population growth, OPEC is forecasting a higher population growth. So when you put those into your models, you're going to come out with different results. But in terms of these outlooks, I think the key issue, there are some, I think, general themes that I think the IEA kind of reinforced, even though they have policy differences, I think, and that's that investments in hydrocarbons are going to have to continue. Even all their scenarios, actually, that was a common theme, I thought, in the WEO that came out yesterday. I guess I'm not sure I see the demand reductions that the WEO is kind of forecasting for 2030 in coal and in hydrocarbons. It seems hard to see that. In fact, we're not seeing any of that in sort of the demand data, and it's just hard to see a quick turnaround like that in 7 or 6 years.
Any other key takeaways from that report?
Well, I guess, look, I think it's great to have these aspirational goals, especially tripling renewables, which seems to be a common theme that will be addressed at COP. I'm all for that. But, there's another IEA report that they issue called the IEA Technology Report, which I think is a great summary of where we are in the transition. Essentially says wind and solar get us about halfway to meeting our climate goals. The other half has to come from new technologies like CCUS, hydrogen, fusion, things we're not even talking about now. But until we have those, we have to keep investing in hydrocarbons. And I think it's important because if you care about the transition and climate progress, you don't want to risk the public losing support because the high prices and volatility, and they make the connection to the transition or climate action. So I think it's important we be careful here and manage the transition.
Also, just before I let you go, we're here at FII. You've been sitting in on some of the sessions. I know you're taking part in sessions too. What's your key takeaway from the event so far?
Well, I think one of the big takeaways which they're showcasing here is how much investment the Saudi Arabia is making into the green economy and to the transition. They're building the biggest green hydrogen project in the world. And unlike a lot of other projects which are really just press releases, they're actually building it. It's actually one of these things where, build it and they'll come, and they're not waiting for the supply offtake agreements. But so that's really big because it's real. That's real money, and there are public companies involved in that. But also they're competing with the UAE on who's going to have the biggest solar project. So there's a lot going. And of course, the Prince, His Royal Highness, Prince Abdulaziz, announced no more power projects without CCUS.
Right.
So they're doing the things that I think the rest of the world is talking about here. And I think that surprised a lot of people to hear what's going on here, other than, investments in oil and gas and keeping the world economy humming.